Welcome to another edition of the Bass Champs Doc Talk podcast. Jeff, I have been looking forward to this one. We are going to be talking with our angler of the year, Hunter Mayo. What a season this young man had. And not only what a season he had, but it's a team tournament and we're talking about one person and one person only.
That's
That's crazy,
that's
isn't it?
right. He went solo, and what, as you said, you can't say much else. What a season he had.
What a season he had. And you and I both have had a lot of conversations with Hunter over the season. And one of the things that he said, which just really has stuck with me throughout his entire journey trying to win Angler of the Year, in the 2025 season, is that he wanted to compete against what he felt was the strongest competition that he in North Texas or Texas or anywhere he could drive to, um, ever. And he wanted to do it on his own, and he wanted to hit lakes that he had never hit before, and he chose Bass Champs to do that, and that's why he fished alone.
Yeah, that's a freaking awesome story. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of it.
And talk about fishing alone. We literally to grab him. Where are you right now, Hunter?
I'm at Lake Fork.
There you go. He's fishing.
I'm at the marina.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've got to start this off, but first off, congratulations. Second off, I know the
thank you, sir. I
championship's not
appreciate it.
over, so there's more work to do. But really, before we get into these lakes and hear some things, I need you to answer a question because it's asked a lot of me about you. Who the heck is Hunter Mayo? And
Um,
I mean, so where are you from? What's your background? I mean, these are the questions I get. Where'd this guy come from? Man, he's fishing by himself, and you've met a lot of guys this year, right? Because I've just told him, hey,
right.
go over to him. He's a great guy. I think you'll be impressed. But man, I still get it, man. Who is this guy? So who are you? Tell him. Give us a quick couple minute background on who Hunter Mayo is.
I'm Hunter Mayo. I was born and raised in Stephenville, Texas, and like whole life growing up, all I really did as a child was wrestle. So I wrestled 13, 14 years, something like that. I was very competitive to that, and that kind of set me up. Like that's why I really hate losing, so it's hard to bass fish because you lose a lot. Because growing up, if you lost, it means you get your butt kicked, like literally in your underwear in front of a bunch of people.
Right,
So
right.
it's embarrassing, right? So, and you can't cry because then you're a wimp, right? So it builds character. So I did that. I raced motocross. I rode bulls when I was wrestling, and I uh, rode saddle bronc horses for a couple of years. Like done a lot of extreme stuff. So bass fishing gets my heart up somehow. I don't know compared to all the other stuff, but I fell in love with fishing at like a super super early age. I mean, I think I remember my first fish ever. It was a bluegill on a fly. I was like 2.5, 3 years old maybe, like super 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 young. It's very, not a very fresh memory, but uh, I caught it on a fly rod, and I've been like addicted to fishing ever since. So I didn't even know tournaments were a thing, and then I found out tournaments were a thing, and I'd always fished with my buddies on my river at the house and stuff, and I'd bass fished my whole life and didn't really, know that I was accumulating skills without really thinking about it. So I was like, heck, I'm better than all my buddies. I bet I can do this bass fishing stuff pretty easy. And I went and got my butt kicked, and I was like, okay, I don't know how to fish. And I fished through high school, and kind of right out of high school, I got real serious with it, and then went flat broke and had to get a real person job. So did that for a few years. I was an electrician, did some cabinet stuff. I've always had a job since I was like, I think I got my first job when I was like full-time job when I was 14. So I went to school and then I'd go to work after school. I did that so I could buy a bass boat, but I've always like kind of ever since I figured out that you could tournament fish, I was like, well, motocross is too hard on the body. So is, riding broncs, and fighting is too hard on the body. So I'm like, I can do this till I'm 70. So I got into it pretty hard, and I've just been in love with it ever since. So I kind of set myself up to try to make a living in the fishing industry. I did that by, trying to promote a guide business, being one of the first people to adapt live scope in West Texas. We were on some really good fish. I didn't have a marketing plan or kind of anything to get my myself set up structurally to be able to do it, and I wasn't ready. So I'm kind of glad it didn't work out. But I got to thinking about it this last couple of years. I'd been boatless, so I couldn't really fish. I'd had just blown motor problems year after year and could not afford to get them fixed. So I finally got into a vessel, and I felt though as if I could compete at a a little bit higher level than a local club type deal. And I was like, okay, it's time to either get serious about this or be an electrician the rest of your life.
Right.
And so I was all right, time to take it real serious. And I basically told myself this year, this is your year to kind of try to like prove it to yourself that you can fish at a higher level. Just because I've been doing good at the house for years, like pretty competitively. I just never branched out. I didn't have a boat. So I got the boat and I was like, all right, time to try this. So, and I knew Bass Champs, like I've watched it growing up for years, and my uncles fished Bass Champs back in the day. Like my dad fished Bass Champs back in the day. And, I knew that was like gonna be the stiffest competition you can get into around here, because who's not gonna come throw $400 in the pot to win 30K on their home pond?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're silly not to do that. So you're going to be fishing against the home local hammers and just hammers driving to that place trying to get the money, and it's a money trail. So you're getting the most serious, like most hardcore dudes you can scrounge up in this area. This area produces some sticks. Like there's plenty of pros that come out of this area, and that's kind of what I'm trying to set myself up to do. So right now I'm a full-time fishing guide. I'm out here on Fork, and I do like 15 other lakes. So I'm kind of all over the place. This is my main operation. In the spring, I do Ivy. So we go chase like big 10-pounders every day, and it's a blast. But tournament fishing is my true love. So I'm trying to set up right now a guide business, kind of structure it where I can leave it alone a little bit and go do tournament stuff and then come back to it and all that stuff. But
No,
I'm
that's
just having fun with my fishing pole right
well,
now.
that's awesome. And and I'll add something here too on the Who is Hunter. I introduced myself to him. I wanted to figure out who he was and what he was about. And I expected, obviously younger and forward facing sonar was, I really, when I met you, I expected to see 3 spinning rods and 3 minnow baits on your deck. And when I get over there and we're talking, well, for an hour basically in that parking lot, that he did have the 3 spinning rods and 3 minnows, but I realized real quick that he was way more diverse than what people were giving him credit for there early on, because he spent all of his time tying on stuff that I understood, right? Frogs and swim baits. And so I thought, man, whether he's in everybody's head or not, he's tackled or mastered. It's just not forward facing sonar. And I'd like to talk about some of that too today. But that was one of the first things, besides just realizing, hey man, it's a really genuine good guy, that I saw. I was like, hey, I was expecting you to have 1 spool of line, 3 rods, and a little bag of baits. And man, your boat looked like my deck. You had,
Yeah, it's a mess.
87 rods and 87 different things tied on. That's a little exaggeration, but you definitely, it was a diverse focus. And, but no, it's been a pleasure having you out this year and getting to know you for sure.
Yeah, well, we're going to jump back a little further. We're going to jump back even further, because this is a memory that I know you still have, Jeff, and I know I still have. So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you first. Do you remember how old you were when you won your first bass fishing tournament?
Man, the first bass fishing tournament I won was with my uncle, but I think everybody won, and I was in 4th grade. We all got trophies, so I'm going to assume that was my.
Oh, they were already giving a trophy
Yeah,
out
I
to
still have
everybody.
it. I still have it. It's one of those little goldfish on a 2-inch by 2-inch marble platform that says winner.
My first one was Trading House. You remember Trading
Oh, yeah.
House Lake down by Waco? 11 years old. It was I think it was the Syntex Bass Club, and it was me and my grandfather that won
That's
that.
freaking awesome.
And of course, that was before, both of those tournaments were before Hunter was even thought of. Hunter, what was the first bass fishing tournament you won that sparked your curiosity and your desire to pursue this sport?
I think the first time I ever actually got first place it was a club championship, and it was on Squaw Creek. I won it. I was like 16, I think. Or I might have been 15. Yeah, I think I was 15. My parents let me drive to the lake with my permit, but I think I won it on a clear Zara spook in the back of a creek
Oh
in
wow,
February.
That's awesome.
oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Hey, how old are you now?
I am 23.
23. Yeah, when he talks about, man, these old memories, I'm like, old memories, 23. That's awesome, man.
Well, I mean, Jeff and I have had multiple conversations about you, Hunter, when we're just shooting the bull. And the thing that and it's probably because Jeff and I know a lot of other anglers, just get a little envious because we remember our days when we're sleeping in the back of our truck, we're grabbing food at a convenience store, we're fishing a Wednesday night tournament to try to get enough money to fish the Saturday day tournament to try to get
Yeah.
enough money to get to our next lake. And you're just right in the thick of that right now, aren't you?
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the year. Heck yeah. I feel all bougie now because I have a camper out here on Fork. But
Get a real
yeah,
shower at night besides the lake.
we were going pretty hardcore earlier this year.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure y'all saw me crawling out of the truck
No,
when
that
everybody was trying to
yeah,
walk
that
the
my
boat.
favorite memory, and just because it brought back so many memories for me was you driving around the parking lot hoping that one of the light posts in the parking lot had a power outlet so
Yes,
you could charge your
that's your
batteries.
only worry.
Yeah, I mean, I use
Yeah.
churches and back of 7-Elevens. I mean, I get it, right? You just need a little, man, just let me borrow a couple hours of power and get it
Hey,
on.
this is a non-pro tip too. My dad told me this one because he rodeoed his whole life, pro rodeo cowboy. He's like, the safest place you can stay if your truck's sleeping, sheriff's office. They'll
Yeah,
let you use their power and you're not gonna get messed with. And
yeah.
I pulled that card in some sketchy places. It works.
Yeah, I never tried that one. Yeah,
Hey, it works.
yeah.
Usually
Well,
there's a girl in there that'll take a liking to you too, and you can get you a cup of coffee and use the bathroom.
you got a free meal out of the deal.
Yeah.
Well, 1,299 total points for the season. You won Angler of the Year by 153 points. And let's just go back to the first tournament of the year. That was January 18th of this year, Sam Rayburn Reservoir. Jeff, where did Hunter finish on that tournament?
Man, so that was he was in the 20s, I believe. At the first Rayburn, his first two events were decent, but not his best. I believe Rayburn was about 26.
That Rayburn event was rough.
Yeah,
It was terrible.
of course,
The
Cold,
wind got to
windy.
kicking.
yeah, of
Yeah.
Yeah.
course.
I had food poisoning that day, and I got motion sick because I was trying to scope out there on the main lake, and I'd never been seasick before, so I'm like food poisoned and motion sick. I was like, okay, I can't do this. So I pulled into a pocket and like pulled down, and I actually took a nap for like I set my alarm because I was gonna try to take like an hour nap to let this like stuff pass, and I'm like, all right. I fall asleep. About 2.5 hours later, some old dude like flipped the jig up on my chest. And he's like, "You all right?" Trying to get me awake. I was like, "You got a water, brother?" So that one was not a fun one for Hunter at all. I did not like that one. I was proud of my like 13 pounds or what I
Well,
caught.
and then we went
But
real quick from there to Fork, which was, yeah, that was Fork was probably your worst finish of the whole season, which
I
was,
think so.
yeah, like 38, 40th, somewhere right in there. What was going on there? I mean, you're on Fork
I could
now.
not get on the unders at all. I actually got lucky as heck at Fork. So it was raining. We had like a monsoon
Oh
at
yeah,
Fork, if I remember
sideways.
right.
Yep.
And so I was on a bunch of big fish. I was trying to catch it over to try to win. And I caught, I think, three that were over 23 and a half that day. But I had like, everybody catches a bag during the tournament at Fort.
Right.
But I had like a bunch of really close ones. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to zero. So I scrapped it and ran. I found like a water runoff. And it was a little slightly warmer. The runoff was slightly warmer because it was coming off of a road than the water was. And those unders were like piled in there. I just couldn't. I got one like good 2 pound under, and then everything else was kind of just a ratty little one, like 10 incher, 12 incher, just not that correct under.
Yeah.
So
You made an
I kind of
adjustment
got
there.
gapped there.
Yeah, adjustment that saved the season really. Because I mean, when I'm sitting here now looking at your stats, and I mean, 38th was Lake Fork, and that's going to be the worst finish we talk about in this podcast today, which is pretty darn impressive. We go back to Rayburn. You had some redemption there. Obviously, you got in the money. Your first time out of the 5 times. So Hunter was 5 out of 8 in the money this year. Rayburn number 2, 14th. What changed there? No seasickness, no 2.5 hour naps, or
No 30-mile-an-hour wind.
that was a pretty
No
day.
seasickness. Yeah, it was honestly, I think I was on more fish at the first one, but the second one I just like I was more confident too, because I honestly I was in my own head at the first one, because I'm like looking to my left and looking to my right at these dudes I've watched on freaking YouTube and TV and stuff, and I'm like, dang, this is scary, I got to catch them big, and I'm like, all right, well, I kind of let it get to me, and I was like under the weather pretty bad, but I don't know, I couldn't, I found it, I was sick, but I was still throwing it big ones, like I just couldn't, I was in my own head, not setting up on them right. So the second one, I just went fishing and honestly I wasn't on very much at all. I was on like 12, 13 pounds, like your Rayburn bite. And I tricked like 2 5s, I think, uh, up shallow on a big swim bait in the dirt, like 1 foot of water at like 1 o'clock. It was
Really?
awesome. Like, yeah, I pulled down. I had to pull my trolling motor to be able to get up in there, because there was like a little depression on the back side of that clay point that they would roll in and feed. And I timed it just right somehow. But that place is so cool, because you can do that on Rayburn. You can just pull up on the right spot at the right time and just load the
Yeah,
boat.
quality
But I
fish.
still haven't got to do that on Rayburn yet. I've seen it happen, but
You got to experience it a little there. Well, from there we
little
went to
mini
a
one.
slugfest, Cedar Creek, respectable
Mm-hmm.
finish, 18th place. A lot of fish caught. We hit that. I mean, there was no room for slipping there really. How did Cedar Creek kind of play out for you?
Cedar Creek was tough. So I think I caught one fish in practice, and I'd never been to Cedar either. So I was like very lost. I thought I could just history wise go crank the dam or something and catch a limit. No, sir. It was not happening for me. So at like 10:30 in the derb, I was like, let's just go scoping. I see everybody's on the bank. I know these fish are on the bank. I'm like, I don't know why I cannot get something going. So I just went and I caught them in like 30 foot of water on an eco rig. And in the
Wow,
wind, it was wild. So I caught a 6 pounder on my last cast like 3 minutes before we had to be turned in.
I remember that.
So that was lucky, but it was a good derb. Like I ended up figuring something out later in the day, and it was a fun bite, which we actually used that bite in the TTO derb. Like, even though it was much later in the season, they were still kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah,
So
we talked about that. I fished that one against you, and you, of course, beat me. But we both got a check. But you were telling me about that you had used knowledge from
they moved a
fishing the
little
Bass Champs.
shallower
Yeah,
in the
and
summer
you
one.
use that information to do better to use in that tournament. So you're really just learning these lakes and applying all of the knowledge that you have at every tournament towards the future tournaments that you're fishing there.
Right. Yeah, and it's a lot of when I say scoping too, that's a very broad spectrum. I might be throwing at brush piles, or throwing at like underwater rock points or something. So I spend a lot of time like utilizing my side scan to find like the sneaky stuff. And I don't have history on the lake, so I'll do that sometimes during the tournament. I might spend 2 hours just trying to find something to fish. Just because I know that with 200 and whatever of the best dudes, they're going to throttle the best spots. So I have to find something like kind of sneaky, like that doesn't get hit as much to compete with them.
Yeah, and that brings up. I mean, we're kind of midway into the season here before you went to LBJ, and it's a question that I know a lot of people have asked me, and probably Jeff too. And Jeff touched on it at the beginning of the podcast. When you look at the deck of Hunter Mayo's boat, you don't just see three spinning rods. You see topwater frogs, zero spooks. You see crankbaits. Obviously, you have really done a good job at mastering forward facing as a tool in your arsenal. But how big of a tool was that to get Angler of the Year? You just talked about Rayburn, how you went super shallow and caught some big fish. So I know forward facing is not working up there, but what do you think your average use of it per tournament was this season to get that Angler of the Year race?
So kind of just how I fish, I understand how effective the tool really is. I might catch one extra fish a day just in a foot of water, flipping bushes, watching my jig, like swimming my jig back to the boat, and watch a fish swim out of the bush, and I drop it down and catch that fish. And that might be one bite per day, but that's an extra bite. So I'm literally scoping the entire time. Like, Rayburn, I couldn't because my trolling motor wasn't in the water. And no, you can't see very good in 2 foot of water, but I'm like truly a river rat. Like, it got me in trouble a lot, like early in my fishing career, because I'd go bomb back in some backwater and there wouldn't be any fish or whatever. But whenever, like, if I get a sniff that there are somewhere remote, like that's where I go. I send it in the very backwater. I'm not an actual like scoper per se. I'm like a true river rat, but scoping is so effective, just the actual tool itself, as far as putting your bait, in the correct places and then presenting that bait correctly to an ultra pressured fish, which I would be like, it's kind of funny. People ask me, they're like, what would you do if they banned live scope? And I look at them and like, take your money, because it doesn't matter. Like, if you don't have it and I don't have it, I'm not going to let you beat me.
Right.
Like, I'm trying not to. They're already beating me, and I'm scoping. So it's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
People are good. Good fishermen find fish. So it's in the grand scheme of it all, it's a really, really effective tool as far as identifying like targets to cast at, identifying if there are fish in an area, because we don't really have a whole lot of lakes set up that you get that like scope bite where they're up eating bait and they're up in the water where you're looking at them. So I'm like throwing a rock on the bank or something like that, but it's with a frog, so it's something silly usually. Most of our Texas tournaments like this year actually set up very good shallow fishing. So my boat was in like 5 or less most of the year. There was an exception, like that first Rayburn event, it was a winter and I was offshore, and that one was a scope fest. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just, sometimes it doesn't play out even if you're trying to scope them when it's a scope fest. So it's just a efficiency tool. Whoever's the most efficient in the tournament wins every time, whether you like it or not. Like, that's how the winners win. You just be the most efficient, throw at the most fish, the biggest fish, that guy usually wins. Yeah. So when you're competing against these local sticks, man, it takes 20, 30 years to go grab a lake like that and understand that much knowledge to be able to just pull up on waypoints. So that's where the live scope can help, where you don't have to triangulate offshore and do all that stuff that we used to do and drop marker buoys or whatever.
Right, yeah.
It's just faster, more efficient. So,
I'm surprised you know what marker
but really,
buoys
it's
are.
probably a 50-50 hard split, honestly. Like, being a river rat, I'm always trying to find one in the dirt because they usually aren't that pressured in 2025. They're easier to catch. So a lot of guys are trying to scope when it isn't a scope and bite. It's not existent and they get lost with it. So it's a lot of times it's better to be in the dirt. You know what I mean? Especially when it's that time of year and that's what they're doing. They're eating gizzards or spawning or whatever they're doing. It's Texas and they live in the dirt. So
yeah, I think that sums
well,
up.
That moves us to LBJ,
Yep.
where you got a little money on Cedar Creek and Rayburn, so you were over at LBJ. You were stuck in a parking lot without any power. You needed to plug in somewhere, so I get a knock on my door at 9 o'clock at night. Man, can Hunter plug into your RV? And I think we blew the generator breaker at one point, trying to get you charged up. And then you're like, hey, man, I need to go up to the local convenience store and get some beef jerky. And I'm like, nah, man, come on, let's have dinner. So we had a good dinner and we got to get to know each other a little bit. But you were at that point, you're still sleeping in the back of the pickup truck and you slept in the RV that night because I got bunk beds in the RV.
Heck yeah, Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal. And, and I get up super early, to get things going. And you were already gone by the time I got up. You were gone back in the truck asleep and already had your boat in the water. Tell us a little bit about LBJ. That was a pretty good finish for you.
I think I barely missed a check at LBJ. Yep. It was, man, it was a weird fishery. There was so much going on. There was some fish deep. There was a bunch of fish shallow. I thought because being, I didn't even know it was a power plant. Like, I rolled up, I was like, whoa, the water is hot here. And then I run in that little cove right there across from the deal. I'm like, dang, it's like 80 something degrees.
Checking your tent probe on your boat, making sure it's working.
Yeah, I was like, are you right? I stuck my hand in the water. I was like, dang. So I should have studied a little harder for that one, but I think I just missed the ball on that. Like, I had for what I was around, I was on some good fish. I just didn't really fish that clean. I was on like a kind of transition bite. My fish were all post spawn, like that just got done. It had been probably a month or so when they'd been done. So they were up eating gizzards and throughout the day. And I had no idea. I just never really timed that one. I caught a few nice ones just here and there, kind of fishing around, but I ran all up and down that lake trying to find something steady. And productive to fish. I just couldn't really get on anything.
That was a weird tournament too, because even talking to the guys after Friday, there weren't a lot of lock fish on, like that second or third wave of spawning fish, but a lot of the guys that didn't catch them on Friday ended up catching them on Saturday because a bunch of fish
And vice
ended up on the
versa.
bank. I heard, I didn't hear it once or twice. I heard it a lot. Like, man, there wasn't nothing like this, and now we got pairs and fish after fish. So a lot of it was a tough one, right? It was quick adjustments. You were
Yeah,
close, like you said, but then we left there and to the I guess it'd be the sixth event. Belton would have been your best finish to that point of the season, and you got seventh at that event. What had you been to Belton before? First time? What was?
first time, first time.
Yeah, how'd
I
that weigh out for
Uh,
remember
you?
I remember talking to you. I'd gotten down there pretty early, and I was sitting out having a cup of coffee, and you were just fishing the cove right there. And you said, "John, I am going to burn an entire tank of gas. I'm going to run this lake from the dam as far up the river and as back as I can." Did you do that in practice? Did you actually do
yeah,
that?
yeah. I ran as far up as you could, and I found some fish up there. The problem is Belton's like aquarium. It's
Yeah.
filled with fish. So I was like, I got up there and caught some 2 pounders. I was like, heck yeah, I got bit. And then ran back down and caught some 2 pounders. I was like, well, and then ran. I had 2 pounders everywhere. That one was like a scope fest for me. I think I scoped every fish I caught at Belton. But that was like a super weird bite. I was kind of on some mid range stuff again, like offshore, but it was all just junk bank basically. I found some big like spawning smallmouth, and they were big, but they weren't really pressured either. But the only thing I could get them to bite was a jerk bait, and I lost like I probably lost 5 or 6 of those dang things,
Really?
and they were big too. Like they were four
Yeah,
plus,
that's a
four and a
big
half
smallie on
bites,
Belton.
like
Real
big
big.
smallies.
Yeah.
I was like, I could not land one. But those things are bottle rockets. When you hook one, it's like letting the air out of a balloon. You just don't know what they're gonna do. So I think the winners of that one, like they smashed them too, didn't they?
They did.
They had
There
like
was a team
26
for
or
yeah, it was
something.
a team from South, former Anglers of the Year in the South Division, and they were on deep fish,
Yeah.
not scopers by any means, but they were fishing
Mhm.
kind of Amistad
See,
style.
there was some really big fish out there already way done, moved offshore.
Yeah,
And I know those fish were glued on bottom, so they were harder to see. But the bait situation was kind of weird on Belt as far as those post spawn fish were concerned. I just couldn't really figure out like when they would pull on to these certain like structures underwater to feed and to set up to be caught. And I'm sure they had a good area with a couple good spots in that area or a good spot or something like that, and bided their time on it and timed it right. Because it's more of a timing
that's
deal on those
exactly
type
you.
deals. But
You nailed what they did. They ground out a long stretch that dropped off into a secondary
right,
creek. Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah, and at this point, you're leading angler of the year. So at this point, does that start to creep in your head that it may be attainable if you do good at the final two events?
Well, I was worried about it at the first one when I got seasick 'cause I wanted to win bad. I want to win everything you can win. So, like, I take pride in the big bass just as much as a tournament win. I'm like, oh yeah, well, I caught the biggest bass of the tournament.
You
That's a
want it
flex.
all. Yeah,
So I want to win everything you can.
I
So
love it.
from the beginning, from the word go, it was AOY for sure. So when I strapped up the 13 being seasick, I was like, that's what's gonna win AOY, and it probably did, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a lot of times this season where it was just one little decision where you catch a 5 pounder or catch two extra ones over here when you got three in the box, and it's just random stuff that's on the go, just listening to your gut, and your fishiness stuff that helps you out. Just being free, really, just trying to fish to win.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that helps, I think.
we head to Roberts, and this is where you kind of put the nail in everybody. Whether you want to call it finding your stride or making better decisions, or the balloon was staying on the hook on the smallmouth. But we go to Roberts, and you get a third. Roberts was
Right.
pretty interesting. Some difficult conditions, some water changes, fish wanting to spawn, some fish being done. But man, third place with a good bag. How did Roberts play for you?
And I thought I was gonna smash him at Roberts. That was my best practice. I fished with a hookless jig in practice. Again, no like knowledge on Roberts. So I think the first spot I pulled up on, I had a hook, a jig, caught a 5-pounder, and then I was like, okay, well, we're cutting the hook off. So it went down quick. And I started running that pattern. I was driving past this windblown point, and there was 3 great blue herons standing on it. There was some grass right next to it. I was like, that looks too good not to pull over there and fish. Threw my jig in there, 5-pounder. I was like, okay, they're eating bait. And then there was like some bait fish feeders, there was offshore fish, there was spawning fish, there was fry garters, there was all kinds of stuff. So I think the one that really helped me, that fish, I found a really giant one. It was like a 12, 13, like DD plus class fish on a bed, and I could not get her. She moved up that evening or something because I had checked that area the day before and never saw that fish. But I found one in the tournament in a spot that I had already fished through that day, and it was a 7. I ended up catching it, and that one kind of bumped me up to what I had. But I got stuck on that big one. I knew if I caught that big one, I could probably win.
Yeah, you win your
But
big bass then,
and
right?
I burnt
You get it
two
all.
hours on her. Yeah, I wanted that big bass bad. I was like,
What when
looking
you're
up the
talking
weight
jig there,
records.
swim jig, standard flipping jig? What are you talking about?
My favorite, honestly, it's kind of weird, but I throw like a little ball head rubber skirt. So like a heavier one, like 7/16, something like that, half ounce. So I'll like swim it on the surface. I might drag it 40. I can do anything with that jig. Skip it,
Got it.
swim it, do anything. So I literally have, I think, 4 of them tied on right now for 4, just different sizes and fall rates. Like jig's #1 bait in my arsenal, probably.
Oh, that's cool.
Hard to beat a jig. I mean, that's
Oh
just
yeah.
versatile bait.
Plus, it's like the most fun thing about bass fishing is getting to set the hook.
Yeah.
So like a jig, it's like go ahead.
Yeah. Take the safety off. Well, so there's a
Yeah.
3rd place, and then Tawakoni. We got to talk about it. The last event of the year, close on a win there. 2nd place. I mean,
Yeah, it's interesting. Tawakoni. I forget where I ran into you, Hunter, but we were talking about Tawakoni, and you were like, "Well, I kind of feel like I need to go practice the weekend before because I'm up for Angle of the Year, but I don't know if I want to jinx myself by practicing too much." It was you were struggling with some things because you knew it was all on the line for Tawakoni. Tell us what you decided to do. Did you put a lot of practice in on that to ace Angler of the Year, or did you do what you did, for most of the other tournaments?
I spent a lot of time on that one.
hello.
I think I went the weekend before and looked around because I did not want to 0 to walking. So I went and looked around, and I did not get on much of anything. I think I caught a 5-pounder on like a jerk bait or something, like in the place where they fillet all the catfish. They're filleting catfish. I kid you not, just a true story. They're filleting the catfish, throwing the catfish back, and I'm like going by them, and I'm watching down because there's all the catfish feeding on the dead catfish and like a turtle. And then like a 5-pounder comes through. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I like turn the boat around, throw my jerk bait through there. I know I'm gonna catch a catfish. Caught a 5-pounder. So I was like, all right, we're gonna win this thing off the fillet station. But I went the day before on the Friday practice, I checked my fillet station, and it was I think I caught the only bass that
Got the
lived on the fillet
5-pounder.
station. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time on Tawakoni. I think I graphed the whole lake. So I was looking for something sneaky to pull up on and try to win. I wanted to try to win every tournament. I feel like if you try to win every tournament and you fall short, you're going to try to be right there to check. So Tawakoni, I was really trying to win that one. And honestly, I just scrapped everything and went shallow on Tawakoni. I think I caught all my fish on a jig. I did catch one on a Nico scoping, my first fish. And that one really freed me up because it was pretty early in the morning. It got like pushed off one of my spots by like 2 or 3 boats, and I'm like, oh, dadgum. And I just kind of was going around somebody, and there were so many boats in that area that the fish like actually pushed out of the bushes, and I scoped one like right next to this dude's boat. He was not very happy about that, but I was super happy
Right.
because I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool.
But yeah, 2nd place finish, and I know you're friends with Trevor who won that, got 1st place. But
It's massive.
yeah, that's a 7-pounder for a big bass. I mean, that's a big That's a big Tawakoni bass.
Yeah, I caught that one swimming a jig. So it was on a dock. I swam it out of the dock, and then like I felt her push it, so I stripped off line. The jig fell maybe a foot. It was right by my boat too. It was pretty funny. I thought it was a catfish, being as big as it was. I set the hook and the dang thing didn't move, and it was head shaking down there. So I thought it was a catfish rolling, and there was actually a boat kind of going by me, and they were like, "Is it a big one?" I was like, "Catfish," and like I went to flip it up in there, and I seen her mouth got the net, but
That answered my question. I was just fixing to ask, did to net or not to net? So you used a net.
usually I'm a boat flipper guy. Once I get them coming, but that one scared me because she had a big old mouth. I was like, "Uh oh, might be a big one."
Yeah, no doubt. 7 pounder. That is a
Yeah.
really that's a big fish. So yeah, so 8 events, blows out angler of the year, cashes a check 5 of the 8, and we still have the biggest event on the books, Lake Texoma. Are we just going to take advantage of the 3 practice days? Are you going to look around any? What's the plan?
I don't want to. I'm probably not going to go pre practice. Probably just going to roll with 3 days. That's all. It's a lot more time than I'm used to. So Texoma's a big lake, but
Well, I just wondered if you were coming up
it's
Friday, even. I mean, I didn't know if you were.
hopefully if I can free up some time. I've been so busy, but thank the Lord it's been good. But man, I can't slip off and go fun fish anywhere right now. So I want to set the hook. It's been about 3 weeks since I
You
caught
got
one.
all right.
Well, I
So,
guess that's a lie. I caught some the other day. But
and just one last thing popped in my head because you talked about guiding West Texas here. If you had to pick, and I know you might not want to answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. You got Lake Fork or you got OH Ivy. You got to set up camp there for 365 days. Where are you living?
Well, that's a
West
tough one.
Texas people are going to be mad at me, but I'm going to be out here at Ford.
Gotcha.
This place is crazy. There's more big bass per acre here than probably anywhere else in the world.
That you
Like
fish.
they're smart and it is crazy. There's so many big fish in this lake.
Oh,
Like
hey,
you can run the same water every day and never see the same fish again. It's absurd.
Wow.
yeah,
That's pretty
Yeah.
that's so cool.
awesome.
It's crazy. I'm not kidding. There's not a bad spot on Lake Fork. This is the only lake I've ever been to where every once in a while I'll be on a guide trip and I'll tell someone pick a spot and we'll go just run to that spot. They're there. Like they are everywhere on this lake. Sometimes they set up funky and they're hard to target, but like every point on the lake's got 40-pound bags sitting on it somewhere.
Wow.
So it's a very unique, special place
Yeah.
for sure.
Parks and Wildlife's done an amazing job, and then you still have to have a body of water that over time supports, the
For
catch,
sure.
and
Yeah.
Fork's that special place, and between
The grass is really coming back too out here. We're gonna have I think they had a pretty good spawn this year. I think next year, as long as it doesn't fall too much, the water's actually dropping a little bit right now, but there's no telling what it'll be next spring. But if we still have this much grass in it, everybody I've talked to that's been out here for years is telling me this is the most grass they've seen on 40 years. There's good hydrilla. There's grass everywhere, all kinds of grass. So they're going to have a great spawn if this grass stays in the lake. If its water level will kind of stay constant through the winter, Fork is going to be absurd in the next few years. All these 5 that we're missing a little year class right now. There's not as many 10+ pound fish in Fork right now because we're catching up to that drought years that we
Yeah.
had about 10 years ago.
yeah,
So it's really biting her right now where you're not seeing those teeners and those 10+ers constantly out of here. There are so many 5 to 9 pound fish in Lake Fork right now. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
a
Like
little help from Mother
it's
Nature,
absurd. So it'll be fun here and give it a year
yeah,
or two and we'll start seeing teeners out of Fork again.
yeah. We've got.
All right, now
Go ahead.
where are you seeing grass at? You seeing it up in Caney and Glade areas,
And it's
or
everywhere. Glade's
really?
loaded, Mustang, back of Mustang, Williamson's loaded, Little Caney's loaded, Birch is loaded. I mean, every creek on the lake just about has got grass in it somewhere. Some of them, almost all of them are loaded with it. It's nice, and it's a mix between you got drilla, milfoil, pads, reeds, hyacinth. You got some coontail, peppergrass. I mean, there's like 30 different types of grass in here right now, and it's just you can tell it's a healthy flake. There's more gizzard shad in this lake than any lake I've ever seen. There's more crappie in here right now than any lake I've ever seen. You'll hear them talk about how the crappie fishing's down a little bit, being they're not catching the great big ones. give it a year, 2 years, you'll see more 3-pound crappie come out of Lake Fork than Grenada, any of the Mississippi lakes. Like there are thousands and thousands and thousands of 9 to 11 inch crappie in dang near every big brush pile on this lake right now.
Yeah,
So that's the
that'll
main
make us some
reason
big
these fish are
bass.
growing really
Yeah.
good. We're gonna have this lake when we have tournaments here in the next couple of years. There will be multiple overs weighed in,
That's
multiple.
I love
crazy.
it. Well, we got Berkeley coming up. What
Yep.
take a guess? Big, that Berkeley's a boat for the biggest over, boat for the biggest under. What wouldn't surprise you on the biggest over for Berkeley? Now sometimes we catch a little turnover there. Fall transition. It's not as stable as where
Right.
you are now. But what best guess? You're out there right now.
I'm gonna say that many boats. There's probably going to be a big 10 brought in. I don't think we'll see like the high 11, 12 pounder or something like that. There's just not that many of them in here right now. But there's a bunch of 10 pounders in here right now. So I think it'll be littered with little big 9s, little 10s on those overclass fish. And then you'll get a big 10, maybe 11 even, something like that.
I like 10-pounders. John, you?
I do too.
Yeah, I know you do.
It's
It makes you make funny noise. Every one I've ever caught, I made a bunch of funny noises right after I caught it.
Exactly. And it never gets old, does it? That's awesome.
No, it makes a grown man giggle.
shoot, just like the first tournament I won, I remember the first time I finally broke double digits, and then
Heck
those are memories that just never leave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be fun too at Texoma. We're going to have a camera with Hunter. Bass Champs TV will be on the
Get to see
scene
the chaos.
and
Get to see,
and you can see
get to
what
see
some
if
of
he's
what we're
telling the
talking
truth or
about.
not.
You're going to be surprised when you see how
They
many
can't
rods.
stand too close though. I've got a wild back cast on me when I get to go.
That's all right. They wear helmets. You're good.
No, well, sometimes they don't. I have been hooked in the back of the head with a swim jig before when I was running camera on a boat.
That's not good.
Hunter, you had a very successful 2025. I mean, not only on Bass Champs, but on multiple other tournament trails. I mean, you really this year proved your ability to compete with the best talent in Texas and in a 3-state area. What's 2026 going to look like for you?
So I've got some stuff in motion right now to fish some. I think I'm going to fish a big national circuit next year. Try to still get back to the Texas stuff too, because this stuff is so much fun. You meet so many good people fishing like Champs and just these other organizations. Just people that'll be a phone number in your contact list that you call once a month for the rest of your life. Like those type dudes are that's why a lot of people fish this stuff too. Like just the camaraderie between the anglers is so good, and I don't want to get away from that at all. I still have a blast, and I'm still going to get my butt kicked fishing Champs. So I'd like to come back and get
There's
some
plenty of them
revenge.
that
I
want to
still
get
need
redemption
win
on
one.
you. I promise.
Yeah, I need to get a win. I'm itching for one. I want one of those super cool trophies.
Yeah. Well, you got a chance. Texoma, multiple
Heck
day.
yeah. Heck yeah.
I'm not writing you off. I promise. Nobody else is
That
either.
suits my style too, because I usually suck about at least half the day on a tournament day. So that'll help me out, give me a little more insurance policy.
Got a little more time to make it up. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Really appreciate your time today. I know you're busy, and hopefully we got you in a little shade there and catch a little break.
Yes, sir. Heck, this was good. This was like a little lunch break for me. So
Exactly.
we're about to go smash some big ones. We got the clouds are breaking up, the bait's about to rise, and
That's awesome.
something big's coming across the
Hunter
deck.
was telling us, John and I, when we first logged in here, that you got your dad with you, which is even that's super cool. Dad's out there fishing with you for a couple days.
Yeah, what's the funniest thing ever is he hates live scope. He hates it. He's like, we were casting at something this morning, and they'd follow his stuff and not eat. He's like, man, forget this. We're on Lake Fork. Let me go throw a frog. I'm like, all right, we're gonna throw a frog and not catch nothing, and you'll see. He's like, all right. But it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
He gives me heck about it.
Yeah. Hey, I understand.
Well, Hunter, again, congratulations on a great season. It's I know Jeff feels the same way I do. It's just been a lot of fun to get to know you this year and to get and to really see how hard you worked at achieving this Angler of the Year title, because you put the time and the effort and the thought process and you lived it. I mean, you lived every single moment of it. And Man, that to have that Angler of the Year title, that's, I mean, it's something I've never achieved in Bass Champs. I've gotten close many times, but that is truly a title that you can take with you for a long time. It's a great title to have. Congrats again.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank y'all. And thank y'all for being. It was great fishing it this year. My first year fishing it. Just everybody that works at Bass Champs and is affiliated with y'all. Everybody's amazing as far as being, there when we have questions as anglers, or just being good, honest people as far as the trails ran. It's truly one of the best trails in the country. You know
Thank
what I
you.
mean? So
It means a lot coming from you. I
thank you.
appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Well, and I'm gonna kudos that with Jeff too. Jeff Welch and Chad Potts both. I mean, Jeff says it day in and day out. It is his singular goal to make sure that it's the best angler experience that he can provide.
I try
You
for
know,
sure.
and you do a great job at
Thank you,
that, Jeff.
guys.
And Hunter just told you did too. So take the compliment.
I'll take it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing everybody at the lake here real shortly.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing you at Texoma, Hunter. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that wraps up this edition of Bass Champs Doc Talk. Man, I just can't wait for October to get here.
It'll be here
I
before we
can't
know
wait
it.
for some Lake Texoma action. I'm still not happy that I'm on the wrong side of the fishing deck on that one because I want to be fishing it too.
Yep.
But yeah, it's I just can't wait because it's going to be some great action, and we'll have another Doc Talk real soon. Thanks again, Hunter. You guys have a great day.
Yeah. Enjoy it, buddy. Thank you.
you.